Hello and welcome. I've just finished Heart of Thorns and I'm really excited to talk about it. Almost all of my thoughts are super positive, though I do have a couple small complaints here and there. But there will be full spoilers in this video, so please, if you have not yet played through Heart of Thorns, you can go back and check out my other reviews, but please just go play it and then come back to it, because I guarantee you it's worth it. It's such a cool experience. So, story-wise, immediately Heart of Thorns just throws you in. You get thrown straight into the Verdant Brink, which is a really cool zone. All of the Heart of Thorns zones are really cool. They're vertically really interesting, and there's a lot going on. They're very difficult, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I feel like that's part of it, right? That ties into the theme of this expansion, which is that you are in Mordremoth's domain. And, spoilers, from here on out, you find out that you literally are inside Mordremoth at all times, basically. He is around you always. He has control here in a way that wasn't really true for Zhaitan, right? Like, Zhaitan had his dominion, he had his influence over Or, but he still needed eyes to go see and mouths to go eat. Whereas Mordremoth, it's all around. He is the jungle. He is Maguma in a lot of ways. And I think that's a really cool way to do this, because it means that from the get-go, we were already going to lose. And we didn't even know it. And immediately, the pact being basically wrecked, everybody trying to pick up the pieces, trying to find everything, Gridlock coming back, being super cool, trying to find Air and Zoja and Logan and Traherne. It was all really, really cool. But where it all comes together for me is that we don't have grounds to stand on. It's not like, hey, we have, the backing of the rest of the countries and we can move forward. No, we're in this jungle. We're working with the Itzel. We're working with the Exalted, and the Nuhawk. But first we have to meet them. First we have to convince them to help us. First we have to start working our way through. And all while trying to find the rest of the team that are missing. We don't know where they are. And as we play through these story missions, slowly establishing that foothold, right? It really sells to you that the pact is probably not going to come back from this. If they do, it's going to be very different than it was before. And most likely, your friends are dead. And that starts to get a little bit different when we start tracking down Air, and we hunt down the prisoners, and we've got Canuck with us, and he's really cool, and the team's all working together, and Marjorie's all fired up because of Belinda, and you got Bram all fired up because he's trying to find his mom. You got Taimi just trying to prove herself in the middle of all this, and Kaith has run off with the egg, and, we got the egg back and everything before, but Kaith is on the run, and Ritlock is back, but Logan and Zoja are gone, and Air is captured, and it's a really cool setup story-wise, and I think it really works together with the whole, hey, we're moving together, we're working with the Hylic, the Itzel, and we're leading our way forward, and I think that all of that is really fun, all that's really cool, but everything changes in Chapter 6, in Prisoners of the Dragon, where not only do we get to find Air, but we also find Fowlin, and Air dies. And I expected some of them would die, right? I really did. I didn't think Air would die. I really didn't. What this is going to do for Bram as a character, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not huge on Bram, so maybe this will work out to make him a better character. I doubt it. I feel like this is instead going to make Bram far more annoying to me. See? But I felt it, right? Like, Air is a character that I like. I like Air Stegalkin. And her loss is heavy, especially since it comes after she stops to help Fowlin, who just continues to be a complete dirtbag. I guess somewhere in here is around the time that we start seeing more distrust, too, from the pack for the Sylvari members. We get a little bit of it in the prologue, we get a little bit of it later on, but as you're going through these zones, you really get to see events or dialogue between pact members where a Sylvari is just not trusted, and the Sylvari has to do things on their own. And it's really potent to see the push of Mordramoth on the Sylvari. So it's understandable that Fallon gives in, right? She doesn't plan to give in, but she gets taken over. And then after that, you have a chase sequence where you have to run from Fallon as she's become like a terrible creature as you rush to Tarir to be able to get the Exalted to help you hide the egg. And all of that is super cool. I love Tarir, the Forgotten City. I think it's the Forgotten City, right? Let me double check. In Auric Basin. Yeah, the Forgotten City. Auric Basin, by the way, is also a really cool map. I really love the Octavon event there. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in this. Lots of cool, more, hey, you're in the jungle and everything wants to kill you in a really powerful way. But I really like Tarir as a city. I think it's very cool. I love the Exalted from a lore perspective. What we find out with them about the Forgotten and everything going on there, it's all really cool. But from there, we put the egg where it needs to be, and then it's time to go. It's time to figure out what we're going to do next. How are we going to regroup with everybody? How are we going to stop Mordramoth? And that leads us to Radanovis, which is a lost Asuran city. And all of that is super cool. I loved that mission, and Taimi getting her chance to stand up on her own and say, hey, I am a member of this team. You know, finding out that all the dragons do have a weakness. And of course, we find out more Mordramoth later on. Zaitan's was the well, right? Getting cleansing ore and reducing his power from that. His power relied on that corruption. And Mordramoth, of course, is the dream, as we find out later on. From there, things move really quickly. Up until this point, it's been a lot of good build-up, and then at this point, things just kind of go, right? It's, hey, we gotta get and make the solvent so that we can go into the ley line area and get down in there to, once we're through, we can go fight, and then it's boom, follow Rox's trail, find Zoja, find Logan, find Traherne, right? And you find, there's a lot of really great dialogue. I'm going to get to the dialogue and the characters in a minute here. But you find Logan, and I chose to find Logan first, and so you get him out of there. And then you have to fight off the Zoja clones, and you save Zoja as well. And then Fallon shows up, and you have your big fight there, right? And then it's, hey, here we go. Traherne is there. Mordramoth has him. We have to stop Mordramoth. And you go into the dream, and you get your choice, right? Who are you going to take with you? And I took Bram and Canuck with me because I felt like Bram deserved his vengeance for his mother, right? And Canuck has been my boy this whole expansion. Whereas Kaith kind of didn't tell me the truth. Kind of could have just been upfront with me. So I took those two. Much as I wish I had brought just all three Sylvari, because I'm playing a Sylvari, of course. And I loved the sequence of fighting the copies of Canuck and of Air. And then when it's time to fight Mordramoth, we have, I'll get to the fight itself in a second, but we have this really cool setup of we're turning the dream against him. The thing he's been using to oppress us all expansion, we're turning it against him. The thing that he's used to turn all of the Sylvari to his side, we're using it as a weapon to crush his brain because his body will just continue to regrow. And I find that super cool. We get a copy version of Ritlock and a copy version of Marjorie. No Casimir. I want to talk about Casimir in a second because Cas kind of just takes like a back seat this expansion. But we get a copy of the people that are in the room, right? So we get a copy of Ritlock, we get a copy of Kaith, we get a copy of Marjorie. And then we get a copy of Forgel Kernson. And as soon as Forgel pops up, my character immediately was like, no, No, you'll pay for this, Mordremoth. And I was like, how dare you? How dare you bring Forgel here? Just, ugh. I love Forgel Kernson, and to see a copy of him that Mordremoth ripped from our own mind to use against us just hurt. Now, granted, of course, you get him on your side, and that's all very cool. And then after that, after the fight, which again, I'll talk about the fights in a minute, you have to kill Traherne. And it's a really powerful moment where you take up Calibog, which again, because I'm a Sylvari, I had to get Calibog back before Rhiannon's sword. That the Pale Tree gave to Rhiannon. I had to get it back for Traherne. Well, I get it back for the Pale Tree, and then she gave it to Traherne later, you know. But that sword and I have been on a long journey as well, just like I have with Traherne. And so using it myself to put down Traherne, it's a really powerful moment. But then the expansion just ends. There's a very short cutscene of Traherne's death and Mordremoth's power, I think, going into the egg. And then it's just done. You're done with the story. You're kicked back out. You're good to go. Keep playing. Go for it. Have fun. And it just felt incredibly abrupt. I mean, we had that whole, like, party after we killed Zaitan. And after the Season 1 stuff, Living World Season 1 stuff, there was that moment where you just sat down and, you know, talked about everything, I guess, kind of. I don't know, it just feels like at the end of most episodes you had, like, I'm thinking about Flame and Frost, where you had the spot in Holbrook. I'm thinking about going back to the tavern with Marjorie and Casimir. I'm thinking about the whole group being together for Into Living World Season 2, going into Heart of Thorns, where we got the cutscene, you know? And it just feels really abrupt here right at the end of Heart of Thorns. That's really my big complaint, is that right at the end, it kind of just rushes towards this abrupt ending. Other than that, I think this expansion was incredible. I think these zones are really cool and oppressive. And yes, the hero points are really, really, really hard to solo, and you probably shouldn't solo them. But I think it just continues to sell that idea of, hey, you are over your head. This is a place you are not supposed to be on your own. You cannot tackle this alone, and you are going to need help. The raptors and the smoke scales and all of the Mordrum everywhere, and just how aggressive all the enemies are, really, like, hammers that point home. I think that the story fights are all pretty good here, right? It's all really good, and the Mordremoth fight is really solid. I think it's a much better fight than the Zaitan fight. It still drags on a little bit, but I enjoyed it a lot more than the Zaitan fight, even if I don't think Mordremoth looked very dragony in that final fight. I still think that as a fight, it was much, much more fun. I especially liked the waves surging forward as Canuck is opening up the hole for you. That's a really, really cool moment in that fight. And let's get into characters here, because I want to talk about Canuck. Canuck went from a character that I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool guy, to, hey, this is my favorite character now. He just leapt forward in the ranks, and it's mostly because of the dialogue. There's so many moments here where he's like, are you going to leave the plant? Don't want to leave the plant with the plant food, huh? And then you're like, well, no, I'm struggling too. Or my favorite moment, which is the moment where my character, the commander, my Sylvari, Krivold, asks Canuck how he's holding up. And Canuck says, I'm doing fine. How about you? And the commander's like, I'm doing great. And both of them just kind of go, huh. Because, like, yeah, they're not doing great at all. They both know they're barely holding on, but they're just trying to be just a little bit more bravado in there, just trying to keep their spirits up, you know? I really like Canuck, and I'm so glad he joined the team over the course of this expansion. I hope that he gets to stick around. Please don't spoil anything for me, but I hope that he gets to stick around. Bram was okay in this expansion. I didn't hate him or anything. It just, I feel like his reaction to his mother's death was solid, but then just shaving his head is the difference in his character, like, appearance. I feel like something really bad is going to happen with Bram later, because I feel like he's just too reckless. The fact that he doesn't even recognize that Tammy's hurt later on is like, I don't know. Taimi was great, this expansion. Taimi's wonderful. I love Taimi. Taimi's my precious daughter, and I will protect her. And the moment where Scruffy has to sacrifice himself, and there's that pause, and even Bram is like, why'd he stop? It's like, because he doesn't want to leave her alone, Bram. He worries about her. So hopefully Scruffy can come back again soon. Jory was great, of course, all expansion. Jory was incredible. Ritlock was great. Absolutely love Ritlock Brimstone. Kate was all right. I feel like there could have been a little bit more dialogue for her other than just, hey, I understand why you don't trust me. I'm here now. And then halfway through that, hey, give me my daggers, though, because if I have them, I can help you fight. I feel like there needed to be just a little bit more dialogue there, and maybe if I'd brought her with me, I would have gotten that, but I don't know. Also, just quick shout-out for Canuck. Him helping me hold it together in the final fight, that's pretty dang great. Casimir was weird this expansion. Jory says at the end that there's something going on between her and Cass that has them both out of sorts. And you can really tell that Cass is out of sorts because she kind of just shows up whenever you need portals, and then she's just not there later. And I get that the whole point is supposed to be, well, she got Logan and Zoja out of there, but I don't know, it just feels like she didn't get to do much in the back half of this expansion. Whereas in the front half, she's kind of there all the time, Rox is kind of in the same way. Though Rox at least still gets dialogue. So it's not like Rox is just not there. But this expansion definitely focused more on Bram and Timey and Canuck and Kaith. I don't know. I like the crew. I'm still really looking forward to future endeavors with this crew. I liked the fights. I really liked the music. There's some really, really good music in this expansion. And I wanted to highlight some of the zones here because I think that Verdant Brink, of course, is a really great zone. I like it a lot. But Auric Basin's probably my favorite of them. But Tangled Depths, it just has so much going on there. I feel like every time I find a new section of Tangled Depths, I'm just like, whoa, this is so cool. The Leyline section of Tangled Depths is amazing. And then Dragon's Stand's a really solid map. A good chunk of it is taken up by the Dragon's Domain, but I do like it. It's probably one of my least favorite of the 4, but I do like it. And then, of course, we got the Gilded Hollow as well for the Guild Hall map. It's all good stuff, right? It's all really, really solid, but I don't know. I feel like this is my first expansion with Guild Wars, so I didn't really know what to expect. I got 2 maps for Living World Season 2. That were both really, really solid. I liked them both a lot. And I think that Heart of Thorns kind of blew me away when it comes to the presentation. I think that it all ties in together really, really well. Really sells me on this is what an expansion in this game should be, right? All the maps are tied into the story. Everything going on in them is tied into the events going on. And if it hadn't been so abrupt, I would say it was probably, top 5 expansions I've ever played. I think that, I don't know, it might still be top 5, honestly. Endwalker and Shadowbringers for FF14 are right up there at the top. And then way back in the day, I know we don't talk about that company anymore, but way back in the day, Wrath of the Lich King that's a dang good expansion. I don't know, it might still be top 5. I need some more time to let it settle, but all in all, I really enjoyed my time with Heart of Thorns. It has me very excited for Path of Fire and Into Dragons, though of course I had to get through the Living World seasons in between first. But yeah, these zones aren't ones that I'm probably just going to come back to all the time because they are pretty difficult. But I feel like once I've got them down, right? Like once I understood how to fight the Pack Raptors, you don't. It was a lot easier. Once I figured out how to fight the smoke scales, get them out of their smoke, it became a lot more fun. And I'm looking forward to doing that with all these maps, just with some time. I guess I should talk about the mastery locking and how you can't continue some of the story steps until you've got the mastery locking done. But I really just used that time to explore the maps more and didn't really have any problems. You get quite a bit of Heart of Thorns mastery just by finding stuff and doing events. So I mostly just cleared out Tangled Depths and Auric Basin finding stuff to be able to get those masteries so that I can continue the story. But let me know your thoughts on Heart of Thorns in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum. But Heart of Thorns and Guild Wars 2 has to offer. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention either, but one of my favorite things about the movement in this expansion, in the Heart of Thorns maps, is that it almost feels like a Metroidvania. As you unlock the masteries, you unlock the ability to gain more movement abilities. You unlock the entire map little by little as you go, upgrading your gliding and upgrading your bouncing mushrooms and being able to get any of the other benefits really opens up these maps to you in a way that Quarteria just didn't have, and I found really satisfying. Yeah, it's just super good. I love the aspect of slowly getting better at traversing this harsh, unlivable jungle, basically. Also, that dragon stand meta event, finding that giant dragon on those little platforms, it's what I wanted the Zaitan and Mordremoth fights to really be, honestly.